For a long time, if you wanted a 360 camera to film your adventures with, your options were, do I get the X4 or do I get the X5? But we have a new competitor on the block. The DJI Osmo 360 action camera is now giving the X5 a run for its money, so let's see if they hold up. Now, I'm not gonna lie, looking at the footage from these two cameras, it's close. I think it comes down to more of what's your personal preference when it comes to what you want your footage to look like, rather than is one better than the other. And in certain aspects, the DJI is better, while in others, it's the X5. And even though Insta360 is sponsoring this video, I'm gonna try and stick to just the facts and show you the footage between these two cameras, and you can decide for yourself which one is better. Or rather, which one you prefer. So without giving anything away, here's what I mean. This is some side-by-side footage from the two cameras. Can you tell which one is which? You can see in the side-by-side shots that the footage looks good either way. It's kind of what you're looking for. That makes the difference between you wanting to choose one camera or the other. Ultimately, I'm happy to see another player joining the 360 market, because that means for us as consumers, we're gonna get better products from both companies because they're competing with each other. I want to start with what I think is arguably one of the more important considerations when picking a camera, and that is on the X5 and not on the DJI, you actually have removable and replaceable lenses. You can order a replacement lens kit from Insta360 and fix the lenses at home on your own. Whereas on the DJI, you have to send it in if you somehow break your lens. Which if you're mounting this on a motorcycle, sometimes that's a reality. So depending on how quickly you want your camera back, the Insta360 might be the way to go purely because you can have lenses and do it yourself in a couple of minutes. Another note on the lens protection, both companies do offer protective lens covers that you can put on top of the lens, but I prefer not using them just because they seem to cause a glare in my footage. Now these two bad boys do look a little bit different. The Insta360 is long and thin and the DJI adopts a landscape format. The DJI actually does weigh a few grams less than the X5. This might not be so important if the camera is close to your body or mounted on a fixed point on your motorcycle, but if you're gonna use the selfie stick and extend it out for a long distance shot, like it hanging off of your motorcycle, the weight of the camera might come into play, because the weight of the camera can drag your selfie stick down, although 20 grams might not make a huge difference. When it comes to the battery and recording time, the Insta360 does have a bigger battery, which they claim gives you 208 minutes of continuous shooting, and the DJI has a 1950 mAh battery, which gives you about 190 minutes, they claim. One interesting thing I noted about the DJI is that it actually comes with 105 gigs of internal storage. So if you didn't purchase a large SD card for it right away, you could actually start filming. Ultimately though, whichever camera you're going to end up using, you're still going to want a huge SD card because 4K footage and above adds up pretty quickly. One of the tests I always like to do with my cameras is to see how quickly they turn on and start recording. If you just turn the cameras on, the DJI does boot up faster, but if you're going to just use the quick record button from the front screens of both of them, they start recording almost the same. It's pretty immediate. I also wanted to do a short audio test to see what both cameras sounded like, just using the internal microphones. Now, I know if you're going to mount these on the outside of your helmet or just on your bike in general, you're probably not going to need to use the internal microphone on these cameras, but let's see what it sounds like in case you ever wanted to use these for something outside of that, like vlogging or capturing the voices of somebody outside, like a car next to you in traffic. I haven't started my bike for a few days, which I know is shameful, but we're gonna see which of these cameras captures the exhaust startup sound the best. I haven't started my bike for a few days, which I know is shameful, but we're gonna see which of these cameras captures the exhaust startup sound the best. Actually heard the difference between the sound of these two cameras, like the raw microphone sound that's coming in from inside of them, so we're gonna test that out today and see if the audio sounds any different, if one of them is picking up my voice better than the other. I have a feeling they're both gonna do great. In the past, I've known with Insta360's audio, it always has sounded great. But if you're wondering what the footage sounds like when you're actually riding your bike, the Insta360 actually has a wind guard right there, so let's see if it makes a difference compared to the DJI. Compare compare some of the footage. I think the software improvements themselves is where the X5 and Insta360 in general have a big advantage, because they've been doing this for years. They've had years to improve their software, whereas DJI is a new player to the field. There might be some more bugs and glitches that they need to iron out before they can catch up to what Insta360 is doing. With the Insta360, you can record up to 8K in 30 frames per second, but on the DJI, you can do 8K at 50 frames per second. On the flip side, you have more color options for the Insta360 than you do for the DJI. So if you were really big on working with your color and making it look great, you might have to do a little bit more work on that footage if you're using the DJI. If you're trying to get some crispy, nice slow-mo shots, the X5 is going to record at 120 frames per second in 4K, whereas the DJI will only do 100 frames per second at 4K. One of the things that I think is really worth pointing out if you're going to buy the DJI is that while it didn't happen to me personally while I was testing these cameras, I have seen footage of other bikers reviewing this camera saying that the interior of the lenses will fog up, and that will essentially ruin your entire shot. Depending on the things like outside temperature and humidity, I've never had an issue with an Insta360 camera fogging up on me, but apparently that is a thing with the DJI, so just something to keep in mind. Baby, we're in luck, because in terms of mounting options for these two, it's basically the same thing. You want to get a wide shot, you're going to put both cameras on a selfie stick. Now, both cameras do come with their own magnetic mount on the bottom, as you can see, and no, those two magnetic mounts are not compatible with each other, but if you take a closer look, they also come with a screw point, and those screw points are universal. The Insta360 selfie stick works on the DJI, and the DJI selfie stick works on the Insta360. So if you already have some accessories from Insta360, you don't need to buy anything new from DJI. I have the selfie sticks here from both the Insta360 and the DJI, and you can see here they both use the same threads. Here's the DJI perfectly mounted on the Insta360 stick, and vice versa, the Insta360 on the DJI Osmo stick. As much as I love how 360 footage looks, the thing that I hate the most is having to edit it. So regardless of which camera you buy right now, the two software programs for editing kind of look like each other. They have things like keyframe tracking, which the Insta360 app also does. You can also use your phone as a keyframe editor and basically move around to decide what you want to capture in the footage, which I think is pretty cool. One of the things that I wanted to capture was some low light images between the DJI and the X5. So here, while I was on vacation, I managed to find a relatively dark hallway to film in the hotel and kind of go up and down. This was moderate lighting. The lights hadn't been turned on yet. It was like 8, 9 o'clock. And so this is what the footage looks like side by side. You can decide for yourselves which one you think looks better. I also did the same test a little bit later and in complete darkness at night, where the only ambient lighting was what was around the hotel. And you can see this is how the two cameras compare side by side when we're looking at really, really dark footage. The DJI has a larger sensor, so I was actually expecting it to do better than it did. But the X5 has 3 AI image processing chips, which I definitely think give it a leg up here. The colors look better on the X5 side. I did want to make it easy for you guys to see an overview of the different features between these two cameras, so I put together this table for you that's a quick reference. So you can see where each camera shines and where it has its drawbacks, so you can pause the video at any point to look over something you're interested in. Now, in terms of pricing, this is what we're looking at. The one advantage, if you order the Insta360, you can use the link in my description or the code that I'm going to put on screen now, and it will give you an extra accessory at purchase, whereas with DJI, I'm sorry, they're not sponsoring this video, so I can't help you out. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. I guess that really doesn't work, covering the camera lens on a 360 camera, right? Because you can just film with the other lens, so cue the black screen.